Okay, we are starting chapter 8.2. It's on the surface area of prisms. You can follow along with me on page 362, and for this section, you can use a calculator. I encourage you to use a calculator. This is going to be surface area of three-dimensional boxes. So if you think of a cereal box, that's going to be a rectangular prism. We're going to figure out how to find the surface area. So normally when you find area, you're finding it of a two-dimensional figure, and you're doing length times width or base times height, or there's a certain formula that you have to follow in order to find the area. Well, we're going to find the surface area, which is of a solid, so a three-dimensional figure, and it's adding up all of the areas of its sides. So if a figure has six sides to it, like a cube, then you're going to be adding all six areas together to find the surface area. So we've talked about this before. A net is a two-dimensional version of a 3D figure. It's a flattened out version. This would be a net of a cube. It's like you took the three-dimensional cube and you flattened it out and spread it out into all of its pieces. Surface area is measured in square units, just like regular area is. So all of your answers will have to be like meters squared, centimeters squared, inches squared. You'll need to include your unit. Every rectangular prism has 6 faces. This is important. So when you're doing your surface area, you need to make sure that you are adding together 6 areas. There's a top, a bottom, 2 sides, a front, and a back. And you have to add all 6 of them together to get the surface area. So I'd like to show you an easy method to find the surface area of a rectangular prism. It looks like a cereal box. You could do this for a cube as well, but it's only going to work for these rectangular prisms or cubes. So the circle method, remember you have a front, a back, a top and a bottom, and 2 sides. So for this one, if we're looking at this, and I wanted to do the circle method, I would start here, and I would do 4 times 7 twice. So this is the first part of my circle, 4 times 7, and I have to do it 2 times because there's 2 of those on the figure. Okay, the next one I would do is 7 times 3. So that's another part of my circle, and I have to do it 2 times, so 3 times 7 here. And then the last part of my circle is these 2 dimensions, so I have to do 3 times 4, 2 times. Then I need to add all of these together. That's why I said a calculator would be helpful. And you're going to get 122 inches squared. So first part of the circle, 4 times 7, do it 2 times, 7 times 3 twice, and 3 times 4 twice. That way you're hitting all of the dimensions that you need to. Here's another one. So first one, 4 times 7 twice, 7 times 3 twice, and then 3 times 4 twice. That's the same one. Okay, let's look at this one. So this is your three-dimensional figure. It's a rectangular prism. This is the net. Okay, that's what the flattened out version looks like. That's a net of a rectangular prism. If I do my circle method, I'm going to start with 3 times 2, and I do it twice. Then I have 2 times 6, twice. And then 6 times 3 will complete my circle, and I do that twice. Once I've got all 6 sides written out, multiply them out, add them together, you should get 72 centimeters squared. Okay, the other type of prism that we're going to look at is a triangular prism. You cannot use the circle method for this one. This one is more difficult. A triangular prism, they all have 5 areas to add together. So the rectangular prism had 6 sides. This one only has 5 areas to add together to get the surface area. So what you're going to have is you're going to have 2 triangles. You're going to have a base rectangle and then 2 side rectangles to add together. Okay, and that's pretty much what it says. This is what I write down when I'm doing the problem. I'll write this on my paper and then fill in the dimensions that I need to find those areas. That way I'm making sure that I have all of my sides. Now for this one, you need to remember that the area of a triangle is different. You don't just do length times width. You have to do base times height divided by 2. So for each of these triangles, you're going to have to do base times height divided by 2, base times height divided by 2. And then these are rectangles, so you can just do length times width for those. So these are more difficult. So let's look at one. So this is a triangular prism. If you look at it, there's 2 triangles, one on each side. Those are called the bases. There's a bottom rectangle down here, and then there's 2 side rectangles that are on diagonals. Okay, for this one, I kind of gave you some dimensions. You cannot use the circle method for this. So look at your triangles. You have a 2 centimeter for the base and a 2 centimeter for the height. So each of my triangles is going to be base times height, 2 times 2, divided by 2, which gives me 2 for that. That's each of my triangles. They're the same. My base rectangle is a 2 times 10. 2 times 10 is going to give me 20. And then each of my side rectangles are 10 by 4. I have 2 of those, so those will each give me 40. If you add those numbers together, 2 for each of my triangles, 20 for the base, and then 40 for each of the sides, you would get 104 centimeters squared. Another direction that you're going to see is they're going to ask you to draw a 2-dimensional net and then figure out the surface area. So they're going to give you this figure, and they want you to draw out the net and then find out your surface area. You can use it if it's a rectangular prism and it looks like this, no triangles on it, you can use the circle method. So for me, I just went ahead and drew out a rectangular prism net, which I'll show you an example of that. I actually had one I just showed you. And then I went ahead and did my circle method here. So 5 times 4, twice, 4 times 3, twice, and then 3 times 5, twice. If you add all these together, you should get 94 units squared. So let's see how you do. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. This one you can use the circle method, this one you cannot. Okay, so this one's going to have 2 triangles, a bottom rectangle, and then 2 side rectangles that you need to add together. So go ahead and pause the video at this time. Work these out. You need to try it out on your own, not just wait for the answers. So go ahead and try those out, but I'm going to go through the answers. So make sure you pause it if you're not done. Okay, so for this one I used the circle method. I started with 4 times 8, I did it twice, 8 times 2, twice, and 2 times 4, twice, and then added all those together to get 112 inches squared. For this one, my triangles are 2 by 4, so 4 times 2 divided by 2. Remember to divide by 2 on your triangles. You're going to get 4 for each of your triangles. The base is down here, it's a 2 times 7. And that's just a rectangle, so I don't need to divide by 2. And then my 2 side rectangles are 7 by 6. And you should get 106 inches squared for that one. Okay, your assignment for this section is textbook page 564, do 3 through 13, or bigideasmath.com. There's an 8.2 practice assignment there. You can use your calculator.